troublemaker. I've been a late-night player. I've been broke as a joke. I've been a money maker. I've been a record breaker. Taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Popping, lock, and stop and let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip-hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school. We think we're so cool. We take it back to the past. We gonna act a fool. Enough jumps, the middle finger make my Jaeger.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Sports Buzz, a Fan-atical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable, Channel 23, downtown Danbury, Connecticut, on this somewhat chilly winter, February 16th, 2/16, the date.
That's also our...
Happens to fall on the day that we're filming episode number 216, the crazy coincidence of it all.
Yes.
Nuts. But we are here live, 6:30 to 2/7. We were snowed out last week when we were getting ready to come in and do our Super Bowl recap, or in other words, celebration show.
Yeah, by the way, congratulations, Scott.
Thank you very much, Bob. That was a little bit dicey for a while. Certainly didn't feel like there'd be congratulations coming my way.
Until the fourth quarter, I was wondering if the Patriots were going to show up.
Oh, boy. They waited and waited and waited, but they did show up. Let's officially say hello to my right-hand man, Mr. Bob Broad Jr.
Hi, Scott.
Bob's show, of course, Spotlight on Tuesday nights at 9 and Wednesdays at 12. Mike Toohey is in the control room, and he is running things. Expose Cinema, Friday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 1. I'll make mention of the fact that I do believe we're going to be doing his show, The Ollies, the Olivers, or what is it?
What is it, Mike?
The Olivers, right?
Oliver, yeah.
His nod to the Oscars should be coming up maybe next week. Which also reminds me that I did tape show number 1 of 2. We covered the acting categories in the annual Time Out with Kevin Gallagher breaks down the Oscars. I was a special guest once again. Kevin had me in studio on Tuesday night. We taped it. The show airs tomorrow night, Friday. I believe his show is at 8:30 in the evening on Fridays, and Mondays at 11 in the morning. We'll be doing part 2, covering the directing category and best picture category, among a couple other things, next week. So look for that this week and next week. If you want to see me talking about the movies with Kevin Gallagher, the former evil director, on his show Time Out with Kevin Gallagher. All right, so we're live, 203-792-4101. We know the Super Bowl was close to a week and a half ago, a little over a week and a half ago at this point, but we do have to talk about it, Bob.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, your Patriots won again.
They sure did. That makes them 5-2 under Brady and Belichick, 5-4 all time in their 9 trips to the Super Bowl. So Brady now passes Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw, who both had 4 Super Bowl wins as quarterbacks. So he's now alone on top of that list with most Super Bowl victories as a QB. And this one was really the most outrageous, if not the most impressive as well.
I mean, the first half of the game, I'm going, what's going on here?
Well, this is something we talk about every now and then, Bob. Everybody immediately calls this like the greatest Super Bowl ever. And this and that. Just because the ending is crazy and great doesn't mean the game itself was crazy and great.
No, because, I mean, the first half, it was all Falcons and
right. I mean, the Patriots are down 28-3.
Yeah.
Late in the third quarter, so.
And I'm thinking,
turn out the lights.
Turn out the lights, so let's go home. I mean,
a lot of people were leaving their Super Bowl parties early, thinking that this was going to be an early night. There's really no reason to hang around anymore.
What was your impression at first?
Not good. Not good at all.
You were thinking, okay, I guess.
Fumble early. Turnovers always mess the whole game up. If you remember against the Texans in the earlier round, the Texans hung around in that game. I wasn't as concerned in that game because I did not think the Texans could continue to score, and I knew the turnovers would stop, and eventually the Patriots would get their act together and they would pull away, which is what they did in that game. This game a little bit different, however, because you know the Falcons have a great offense.
Right.
And you figured with the big lead, even if the Patriots started coming back, the Falcons would at least be able to get another field goal or touchdown along the way.
Yeah, somewhere in that.
And it was just going to be too big a hole to climb out of. The Patriots set the record 2 years ago against the Seahawks for largest comeback in a Super Bowl, and that was 10 points.
Right.
This was 25 points, Bob, late in the third quarter. And, and the Patriots looked dead in this game. Numerous 3-and-outs, besides the fumble early by LeGarrette Blount and then the pick six right before halftime that made it 21-0 at that point. The Patriots got the field goal right before the half to make it 21-3. But, they get the ball. The Falcons do to start the second half. Patriots defense comes up big, forces a 3-and-out, and then they get a nice punt return. So they get the ball around midfield, and you're thinking, all right, if they're ever going to get in this game, now's the time.
Right.
They got great field position. The defense looks sharp coming out of the halftime. And the Patriots do nothing with it then. Right. And then the Falcons go right down the field and make it 28-3, and you're thinking, there's just no way.
This is over. The game is completely
That's
shot.
What you figure at this point. But things that we've talked about and we mentioned in the preview show, the Patriots never panic.
Right.
That's not in their DNA. They will always play the game until the bitter end, no matter what's going on. And they're not going to start doing things out of character. So they just continue to play their game. They come up with the touchdown. James White gets his first of what would end up being 3 touchdowns for him. And he also got a crucial 2-point conversion. So huge day by the young player, James White. But they make it 21-9, and Gostkowski misses the extra point.
I know. Go
bang, now
right
you're
off
saying,
off the
it doesn't, what does this matter at this point? Nothing is going right. I will mention, though, Gostkowski, he did have that missed extra point, and later in the game when they were coming back, I'm sure other Patriot fans, not just myself, were having flashbacks to last year's AFC Championship game when he missed that extra point and it came down to they needed a 2-point conversion to force overtime against the Broncos, and they didn't get it. So we were worried that was going to be a repeat of that happening again after the missed extra point. But I will give Gostkowski credit for his kickoffs, Bob, which were crucial because they pinned as the comeback was happening and momentum was changing. Twice he pinned the Falcons down deep in their own when he did the kind of pooch kickoff where they had to field it at like 1 yard line, 2 yard line, and the Patriots coverage was there because the Falcons thought they were doing onside kicks, which they did not do, and they were able to pin them inside the 10-yard line, which aided the comeback and made it tougher for the Falcons to, score points to add to the lead there, which would have, given them pretty much the clinching victory. But the big defensive play of the game was Dante Hightower, and a lot of people forget the play that happened before the Malcolm Butler play in the Seahawks Super Bowl. The play that made it possible for Butler to make that interception at the goal line was Hightower coming from nowhere to tackle the running back for the Seahawks on that play where he had looked like he had broke free and was going to walk into the end zone, and Hightower made a shoestring tackle at the goal line, which set up the Butler interception, the greatest play of all time. He comes through in this game and gets the strip sack on a 3rd and 1, Bob, with a big lead, 28-9, deep in your own end, the 30-yard line or so. Why were the Falcons doing a deep drop back pass, sending 3 wide receivers for bombs in that situation when you don't need that at all?
Just go for the field goal and the game's over.
They were gashing the Patriots defensively with the running attack, so run the ball in this situation in your own end to try to get the first down. If you don't get it, so what? You punt it away, no big deal. A fumble at that point is the last thing you want, because now the momentum is really going to swing. Patriots have good field position. They come down, they get the touchdown, and they get – actually, they didn't even get it. Well, this was after the field goal. They got – so it was 28-12 at that point. So they get the touchdown and the first of 2 2-point conversions to make it 28-20. And now you're really starting to think about what could happen in this game because you're 1 possession away. And the crucial thing that the Patriots also did was kick that field goal earlier in the game. to cut it to 2 possessions instead of panicking and going for it on 4th down there. They settled for the field goal, made it a 2-possession game. So after that, Bob, and this is where you're talking about just take the field goal.
Right.
Julio Jones, and we see the picture of him there, I think we have it, making the miraculous catch on the sideline, going up and over the defender, and he gets 2 feet in bounds. An unbelievable catch by Julio Jones, the Falcons player, to make the catch. And they get that now, first down at the 20-yard line, 22-yard line. All they got to do is run the ball 3 times and kick the field goal, and the game is over.
Right.
Instead, they drop back to pass. Another young player for the Patriots, Trey Flowers, who had a great defensive game, bursts through the middle, gets the huge sack, knocks them back almost out of range, and then on the next possession play, they drop back again, and they get the holding penalty, so now they are definitely out of field goal range and gives the Patriots life. And the next thing you know, 91-yard drive, Patriots, Brady leads him down, and he gets a touchdown, and they need one more 2-point conversion. And we saw the shot there with Amendola getting it on the conversion to tie it. Unbelievable, Bob, with about 50 seconds left.
And the first time in Super Bowl history, they go into overtime.
We go to overtime. How about this for the numbers, though, Bob? Brady, 466 passing yards, 43 for 62 passing attempts. To Ryan's only 17 for 23. This was the craziest thing about this game, Bob. The time of possession, 40 minutes to 23 minutes.
Right.
So throughout the time that the Falcons were winning, they were not racking up any time of possession.
No, they didn't have enough.
And the play calls, Patriots ran, 95 plays or so to the Falcons' 45 plays or so. Unbelievable. You would think that the Falcons would have had more play calls and more time possessions when they were winning this game 28-3.
Right.
And also the Patriots end up going for 37 first downs in this game to the Falcons' 17. So they scored, the Falcons did 28 points, but 14 came off turnovers, 7 coming off the pick 6. So they were not on the field long, so their defense was getting worn down even though they weren't giving up points. And that really came into play late when the Patriots had the steamroll going. And then, of course, we saw the Julio Jones catch. How about Julian Edelman's catch? Which is, a lot of people say was payback for the David Tyree Giants catch, where the ball's deflected, goes up in the air. There's 3 Falcons.
Everybody's scrambling, and he just
falls.
It
bounces off the Falcon defender's leg, and then he kind of secured it, and then popped it up in the air and re-secured it as he was diving for it. And maybe Mike can find that picture. There it is, right there. Unbelievable. He had the presence of mind to get it off the leg and then pop it up and re-catch it. And it was just like, wow, unbelievable. And when they win the coin toss for overtime, Bob, this game is over.
I knew the Patriots had it.
You knew at least they were going to get a field goal.
Yeah.
But they go right down the field. They score the touchdown. They win the game. Unbelievable, which sets up the great moment on the podium when the Patriots are celebrating and Roger Goodell has to hand the trophy off to the Patriots, and Brady walks right by him, and Goodell tried to play it cool, like, oh, it was no big deal.
Right.
Yeah, right, Roger. The big, basically, middle finger to you, Roger Goodell, from all of the Patriots.
But the thing I liked the best was Terry Bradshaw actually says to him that, congratulations, you are the number one as far as,
Yeah, or maybe. Well, number one all time
with a Hall of Famer,
Yeah, I mean, surefire Hall of Famer, and now he's got the 5 trophies. So amazing, absolutely amazing comeback. One thing I will also mention, Bob, we mentioned James White, the young player, but remember leading into the preview, I questioned, would the Patriots go to the rookie wide receiver Malcolm Mitchell?
Right.
And they did reward him, even though he had the bad game, first one back against the Steelers, coming back from injury. They rewarded him, and what did he do, Bob? He came up huge in the second half. 6 catches, 70 yards. Most of them all came in those 2 drives that set up the overtime. Really big time performance by the rookie, so that was great to see. But just amazing. And Julio Jones, for that one amazing catch, was only targeted 4 times in this game.
Right.
So just a crazy, crazy situation. But they had the big parade as well. I think we got some shots of that, 2 days later. And I think it looks like to me, Bob, that more people showed up for that than showed up for that inauguration.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly, which took place. I don't know maybe Donald Trump could get, alternate facts.
Yeah.
Who knows? He might look at these pictures and say, no, there were more people at the inauguration.
Yeah.
But there's some pretty big crowds there for that Patriot parade. Who knows? All right, so other news more current than that, and this is crazy, Bob. We got a couple shots of the halftime. What did you think of the halftime?
Nothing.
I mean, the pyrotechnics and the show itself was good. But I thought that I was going to enjoy Lady Gaga's music a little bit more than I did. But I was not really impressed with her songs at all. But she did, do some high wire act stuff as well, which was impressive. But overall, I didn't think musically speaking it was all that great. But all right, so now we get to turn the page on the NFL. Turn the page on the whole Patriot Brady revenge against Roger. They got it. I will say this, Bob. The NFL should be forewarned because the Patriots, I think, are still going to be in FU mode because they got the patent for the blitz for 6.
Yeah.
So they are already ready to say, we're not done.
We're going for
you guys
number
want to
7.
come at us and get these so-called, Deflategate and suspensions and all this nonsense. The league hates us and all this. We will embrace it fully. And I got a sneaky feeling, Bob, they might do a bookend situation. Remember, Brady's career started with winning 3 out of 4 Super Bowls.
Right.
He is now set up to do the same thing towards the end of his career if they can come back and repeat next year and do 3 out of 4 at the end of his career.
Maybe my Giants can come back and
what do you think about your Giants cutting Victor Cruz?
Yeah, I know. Let him go.
Pretty crazy.
Browns.
Wow, nuts. All right, some big news, though, in the NHL, and that's where we're going to turn to. The Bruins on the day of the parade, and this was shameful that they tried to sneak this news through while the Patriots were celebrating and Boston was all happy and pleased. They fired Claude Julien during the day while that parade was going on. So that was shameful that they would do it. Not a total huge surprise. They are in the mix for the playoffs right now, but it's pretty similar to what they were doing the last 2 years where they were in the mix all year long and they collapsed in the final week and they missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. So, Claude Julien, of course, never should have to pay for dinner in Boston ever because he did lead them to their first Stanley Cup in, close to 40 years in 2011.
But the thing is where he ends up.
Well, yeah, and we're going to get to that in a second, but I wanted to mention the fact that he got them that Stanley Cup in 2011, and he got them back, and they lost that brutal series against the Blackhawks in 2013, and he was the longest tenured coach in the NHL, Bob, which was surprising. 10 years for him, 2007 to 2017, and he was a class guy all along, and the media loved him in Boston. He would always give you a candid, honest answer. So, surprisingly, on the day of the parade, they fire him. Then, on Valentine's Day this week, huge shock comes out of Les Habitants Montreal Canadiens camp, the hated rival of the Bruins.
Yeah.
They fire Michel Therrien, and who do they hire? Claude Julien for the second time.
Yeah.
This has happened. In 2003, he began his career as a head coach. Where did he start coaching? For Montreal. And who did he take over for that year in Montreal? Michel Therrien, who was the coach of the Canadiens Les Habitants then. They fired Therrien then. They bring in Julien, and they didn't last very long, only 3 years before he went to New Jersey. And how about this crazy aspect of his career? In 2007, he's off to a 47-24-8 start with the Devils. What does Lou Lamoriello do for the second time? Fires the head coach and takes over. It worked for Lou one time when he took over and he led them to a Stanley Cup final. That time it did not work as he fired Julien, and it was much to the benefit of the Bruins who hire him, and he does end up getting that Stanley Cup for them. But crazy career for Julien as he goes back to Montreal. And all right, so the Canadiens are in first place in the Atlantic, and you might think, why are they firing their coach when they're in first place at 31-19-8? Well, they started the season red hot, much like they did last year before missing the playoffs, at 13-1-1. Since that point, Bob, they're 18-18-7.
Ew.
So the ownership felt like it was much the same as last year.
Right.
It was not going to end well, and they thought they needed to make a move. Personally, I never thought Michel Therrien was that great a coach,
right.
and they haven't really done that well under him. But crazy, from Patriots Day firing to Valentine's Day hiring, wild turn of events for the former Bruins coach, now Canadiens head coach. Let's look at some of the standings real quick. In the Atlantic, about 58 games or so played for most teams, so we're pretty deep into the season. We got, 32, 34 games or so left.
Right.
Montreal in first place at 70. Ottawa and Boston tied with 64 points right behind them. But they have no wiggle room, Bob, as Toronto with 63 and Florida with 60. In your Rangers conference, the Metropolitan Division, the Capitals, winners of 6 straight and just bludgeoning teams lately. They are on fire, Bob. 84 points for the Capitals. The Penguins behind them at 77, tied with Columbus Blue Jackets at 77. The Rangers, who have, really started to play much better. Remember at the beginning of the season, Bob, I'm sure you remember they were red hot to start the year.
Huh? Strange Man's here?
What's that?
I said Strange Man's in there.
Strange Man did show up. We thought he might show up.
Does he have a strange stat?
Any Super Bowl stats from Strange Man? Or any possible, is he coming off the ledge because the Bruins fired the coach?
Does he like to have us at least tell us why?
All right, but we'll stick with the standings. The Rangers at 75 points. So they are actually inching closer to getting back into that top 3 and not being the wild card. And the wild card situation in the Eastern Conference, Flyers also right behind the Bruins at 61. Islanders, remember how bad they were doing, but they fired their coach. Maybe the Bruins are thinking the same thing, and they have won 3 straight since they fired. Well, Islanders also playing better, moving themselves into position at 60 points, but also talking about moving back to the island, Nassau Coliseum, which would be crazy, leaving Brooklyn. Hello, Brooklyn. Is anybody alive?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
They're already talking like they're leaving. And the Devils, we'll mention at 58, they are within range out west. We haven't talked much about the Western Conference Central Division. Wild at 80, Chicago winner of 5 in a row at 75. Big drop-off and another big fire, and Ken Hitchcock fired in St. Louis at 65 points, and Nashville at 62. Pacific, San Jose leading the way at 74. Remember, they made it to the finals last year before getting beat. Anaheim 70, big drop-off. Edmonton 68, actually not that big a drop-off there. Edmonton leading with the rookie sensation. Big drop-off after that, though. Calgary 61, Kings 60. All right. NBA, what's our minute mark? How long we got?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right, we got to get to this quick then. All right, we're going to talk quick, I think, first about the Knicks. What is going on with Charles Oakley, Bob?
He went ballistic.
A ballistic affair at the Garden last week as Charles Oakley, within 5 minutes of the game starting, and he was spewing expletives perhaps at owner James Dolan, who is in his usual seat. And of course, everybody hates James Dolan. All the Knicks fans do. And Oakley gets into a shoving match with security as he's being escorted out. He ends up getting arrested. And then what makes matter?
Banned.
What's that?
Then he was banned.
And then he was banned. And the Knicks come out and say, we hope he gets the help that he needs. Clearly indicating that either he has a mental situation or an alcoholic situation. So they went way over the top with that. They have thusly listed the ban. And let's go back to that picture of James Dolan. I mean, what's the deal? He brings back Latrell Sprewell to try to save face with the Garden faithful because they all love Latrell. Did Dolan forget that Sprewell also took shots at him on the way out of town when he traded him to Minnesota? I mean, Latrell went ballistic on Dolan when he was traded years ago.
So then they had
how much money do you think he traded Sprewell to come and sit next to him to try to protect him from the Garden faithful?
So then so I guess out of this, Michael Jordan
brokers the peace. Air Jordan, an old friend of Charles Oakley, the Oak Tree. Unbelievable situation. The Knicks at 23 and 34, 4 out of the wild card. The Pistons are the 8th seed right now at 27 and 30. So, and there's still all this talk about the Melo trade. I think the trade deadline is next week. We will see what happens.
I don't know. I don't think he's going anywhere.
I don't either, but the Cavaliers suffered a big injury with Kevin Love going down with a knee injury. He's out until, maybe the very end of the season, beginning of the playoffs. We'll see. All right, Celtics winners of 9 out of their last 10. They're in the 2nd seed right now. They've moved 4.5 games up on Toronto, Bob.
I know.
Remember, it wasn't long ago they lost a game against Toronto and remained behind them, but now they're 4.5 up on Toronto, and they're only 2.5 out behind Cleveland, who is playing a little bit better, but they haven't had a great break. But how about this, Bob? Again, the NBA with the break, All-Star break is this weekend. Celtics play at Bulls tonight. They're off until Friday. That's not tomorrow.
No.
That's next Friday.
I know.
8-day break.
Really?
Unreal.
You need to have that much
they got all
time
this
off.
momentum going on. They get 8 days off. We'll see how they play when they come back. But at 37-19, sitting pretty, Isaiah Thomas is in the All-Star game, and he is a legitimate MVP candidate. 29.9 points per game, 2nd in the league. We'll see. Maybe A.V. Bradley comes back, their defensive stalwart. He's missed 15-plus games or so. All right, we'll do a little college basketball quick. We only got a few minutes, I believe.
Yeah.
Gonzaga is number 1. How about that? 26-0. Is Strange Man trying to get us any information?
We got a minute and a half.
All right. Gonzaga 26-0, Nova 25-2, Kansas 23-3, Baylor 22-4. Those are your top 4 right now. In the AAC, we'll mention Cincinnati still getting no love at 23-3, and SMU at 23-4. Cincinnati beat up on the Huskies, but the Huskies have won 7 of their last 10, so 7-3, and 5 of their last 6 at 12-12. Not good enough to make the big dance, so they're still going to have to win their AAC tournament to get in. But the Lady Huskies, Bob, we do need to mention.
Over 100.
Winners of 100 straight, which is a record all-time for any sport, anywhere, anytime, anybody. 66-55 over South Carolina was the game that got them to 100. They're going to continue that. And, when are they going to lose, Bob? This is unbelievable. This is a whole new team this year. They lost Breanna Stewart, who was the 4-time MVP. Celebration! Oh, celebration! It's a string cheese incident. Patriots win. Patriots win. Another Super Bowl.
Are we out of time?
Strange Man shows up.
So,
all right, we're
not
out
live next week, right?
We are not live next week.
Yeah. So we will be back in 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks, we're here. Very nice.
Are we out of time?